Hi there and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Marley and I like to read. And today, as you can see, I'm going to be starting a reading blog slash review for Karen M. Mcmanus's newest book, You'll Be the Death of Me. If you guys are not aware, Karen M. Mcmanus is kind of like the YA thriller queen. She got very popular from her One of Us is Lying series, and she has a couple other standalone books such as The Cousins and Two Can Keep a Secret, and this is her newest release and it is another standalone. Just a disclaimer, this video is going to be full of spoilers, so just be warned about that if you have not read the book yet or if you care about spoilers. But yeah, I've really been enjoying filming these little like spoiler filled reviews and reading blogs for specific newly hyped releases for me. It's just really fun to like get to actually fangirl about what's happening in the book and just say all of my honest thoughts without worrying about being spoiler free. So I did start this book. I'm not very far into it, but I do know the premise. So it is about these three teenagers in high school, very similar to Karen's like template that she uses for a lot of her books. But these kids used to be pretty close friends in elementary school, and then when they started high school, they sort of drifted apart, as a lot of kids do. There wasn't really any big fallout. They just don't really hang out anymore. So we have three main characters. The one girl is named Ivy, and she is sort of like your typical goody two-shoes type of character. She comes from a very like privileged family. They're pretty rich and well off, so she feels a lot of pressure to do well in school and that kind of thing. Then we have Mateo. He is not very well off. His mother used to own a business that has now gone under, or they had to sell it or whatever. She also has a lot of health issues, so him and his cousin are having to work multiple jobs to help out his mom with the bills and everything. The third boy is Cal. He probably has like the least going on. He's a little redhead. He has two gay dads, which is a highlight about him. And then we're kind of hearing about his ex-girlfriend and his new girlfriend. He has more like relationship stuff going on. So those are our three characters, and they have all just kind of decided to skip school together. They all sort of have reasons that they want to skip. So they go and they're like hanging out again and kind of reconnecting. And I know from the synopsis that they are going to witness a murder or some sort of crime. So that's going to really like tie them together. And I think they might all be a little bit suspicious for the murder because I think they're all gonna have some sort of connection with the kid that dies. I don't know. Haven't got that far into it yet. I've just got to the point where they're skipping school. But I'm excited to see what Karen decides to do with this story. And yeah, I'll be back when I've read more of the book. I also just got a cat named Peach, who I will be putting more like footage of her into my vlogs. Maybe I'll show her. Here she is. Hello. Yeah, we just got her the other day, so we've been having fun with her, adjusting to the apartment. She's waving. Hi. Anyway, yeah, you're free. Hey, so things are happening. I'm 100 pages in to You'll Be the Death of Me. So basically they decided to go to this studio space that Cal's girlfriend uses or something, and they end up seeing Boney Mahoney, aka Brian Mahoney, which is a guy that recently beat Ivy in the student president election. So they end up seeing him there, and she chases after him because she's like really mad that he beat her and kind of humiliated her at school, so she's gonna like tell him off. But we were currently in one of the other boys' POVs, so by the time they catch up to her, Boney Mahoney is dead, like lying there in this studio that belongs to Cal's girlfriend. And she is just like looking very freaked out. She eventually faints when they see this needle, as if the guy has just been injected with drugs. So Ivy's passed out, but obviously she looks suspicious because she was up there before the other boys, and she has like a reason to dislike Boney. So anyways, the boys make the decision to grab Ivy and leave when they hear the police coming, because obviously like they look pretty suspicious being there. Obviously, dumb decision. Like I hate when things like that happen, when you're like, you know, they're probably going to connect you to the scene later. You may as well just admit you were there and like say the truth, because you might end up getting blamed for it and looking guiltier. Anyways, they're dumb teens. So they go over to Mateo's job and they're like hiding out there, and they see on the news that someone reported seeing a blonde woman inject Boney with the drugs. And of course, Ivy is blonde. She is younger than what they describe, but it's like, still, it could still be her if they, you know, just happen to get her age wrong. So they're making Ivy look very guilty here. So far, Mateo has no reason to be suspicious, but I'm wondering if something will come in later and make him suspicious. My prediction is that Boney Mahoney was working with his cousin Autumn selling drugs, because I have a suspicion that his cousin is selling drugs to get money because they're poor or whatever. So I'm thinking that's going to be his connection, or maybe his cousin will be a suspect, because I think she's also blonde now that I'm thinking about it. Did I just figure it out? Maybe. And then Cal is acting super suspicious, the redhead one. So they are like, yo, like asking him questions about his girlfriend, because it was his girlfriend's studio, and he goes to meet her and the other two follow him. Basically, we find out that his girlfriend is their art teacher, and that's whose studio it was. So he's having an affair with the art teacher. But it's really weird because it doesn't seem like it's gone to a sexual level, which is good, obviously, but there is some sort of inappropriate relationship going on. And of course, this woman is blonde, so she is a suspect. So I think, you know, he loves her, so he wants to kind of like protect her in this situation. But yeah, we got some interesting things going on, some different strings that could lead to many different potential killers. But I would say we have 3 blonde suspects right now that are connected with each of the 3 kids. I will say, I don't know if it's just this book or if it's just me realizing it, the writing style is feeling very immature to me and not the best. And I don't know if that's because like a year has passed since I read her last book and my like tastes have grown and I just have more of a standard for the books I read, or if like this one just is feeling more immature. I don't know. I don't know yet. Maybe I was able to look past it in her other books and maybe it will get better, but I'm finding the writing just like not the best. I don't know. As we find out more stuff, I am interested in the mystery. But yeah, I already have my little theory. I'm going to say the drug one's going to be my main theory, that it's Mateo's cousin. I'm going to say it now early in the video. You can keep watching, see if I'm right. Maybe you've already read it and you know if I'm right or wrong. So I think depending on where the mystery goes, that will like really decide how I feel about the book. But right now I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm as into it as I imagined that I would be. But it's still pretty fun. I should get through this fairly quickly. So I'll update you later tonight when I've read more. Having a really low blood sugar, feel really shaky, eating a bunch of Skittles. So I just read a bunch more of You'll Be the Death of Me. I'm over halfway now, page 186. A bunch of stuff has been happening. I'm very into it. I kind of had to force myself to like stop and do an update because it's at that point where things are very fast paced. We're finding things out, we're moving around. It's a fun time. I will say it's kind of fun because this whole book is taking place in one day, which I don't think Karen has done in one of her previous books before. So it's pretty fun that we're basically seeing them throughout the entire day. And as I said, it's like pretty fast paced and everything. The only thing that can be tricky about that is that all of our point of view characters are all together all the time, basically. So sometimes with each chapter, I'm kind of forgetting whose head we're in because we're always, like all the characters are always together. It's the same characters all talking. So sometimes I don't quite know whose head we're actually in, but that's not the biggest deal. I think that's kind of on me for just like reading too quickly and I just need to like slow down a little bit. There is a romance in this as always, but I feel like it's very secondary. I do think it's cute, like I ship it, but it's not really giving me like that many feels or anything. I feel like the best romance she's done was the romance in One of Us is Lying. I feel like that one gave you a bit more feels, and this one is just kind of like, it's there, you know. As for the reveals, it was what I had predicted with Mateo's cousin being caught up in drug dealing. We have kind of found out about all that, and actually the guy who got killed also was into drug dealing, along with a third character who they have been talking with and finding information from. So we figured out kind of like the motive behind this kid's death. Essentially, they stumbled upon a bunch of drugs, opioids to be specific, and they have been selling them, but they technically stole these drugs from like a higher up villain. So that is obviously who killed this guy, Boney, because that kid was like selling his drugs. So now we are trying to figure out who like the big drug lord is in this town. And we have a bit of a lead because of that teacher and the studio. She was using the studio from a friend, and that friend's name was Dominic. And so it's like maybe he is like the big bad in this situation. But the fact that the characters have figured it out right now makes me think that is not true. So in terms of my theories, they still haven't explored Mateo's cousin actually being the killer yet, but I don't know if it is gonna even go there. The other thing is they think that it's someone with the name D, which is why Dominic, aka the like artist who owned the studio, is like their main suspect. But I noticed that this news reporter also has a first name that starts with D, and he's just sort of being mentioned throughout it, and I'm wondering if he actually is gonna have a bigger part, because why else would his name start with D? Like, maybe that means something. Because at this point, I don't really know of any other characters that would be like a shock for them to be involved. Because I feel like there's not that many characters left, you know? But yeah, in terms of the cringy writing style mentioned before, I feel like I'm not really noticing that right now. So that is good. I just feel like we're so caught up in all of the action right now that I'm not really noticing that. So having a good time. Maybe I'll even finish it tonight, because I'll probably just keep reading. Okay, so this totally went over my head, but Ivy's brother, his first name starts with a D as well, Daniel. And he's another character that's sort of in the background. He sort of tortures Ivy a little bit, like ruins her life a lot, like a typical younger brother. But I'm like, what if we take it a step further and he is evil? Or he is involved with the teacher, which of course that wouldn't be his fault. But what if he is involved in this? And so I think that's either going to be correct, or it's going to be another red herring that they are about to explore because he just like walked in on them doing something, whatever. Also, we got like a major reveal. So this whole time Ivy's sort of been hiding something regarding her relationship with Mateo, and she finally came forward with it because they were sort of like getting together and she was feeling very guilty. Turns out his mom's business, the bowling alley, so I thought it just like failed or whatever, but it failed because the mom got sued for a lot of money. Turns out there was an injury at the bowling alley, and that's the person who sued them. And the reason was literally because of Ivy. She was trying to get back at her brother, so she put baby oil on the lane, and it caused a kid to trip. That wasn't her brother, but another kid. So it's because of her that Mateo's mom lost her business. Obviously, she didn't cause like the health problems that the mom has, but like that they lost the business and they're having to work like multiple jobs to get by. And that's the reason that his cousin got involved in drug dealing, was because they were struggling with money. So she literally ruined this family's life. And he went off on her. Like, he was so mad, rightly so. And I'm like, this is crazy, because this is the main couple in the book. And I don't see them getting back together, which is interesting. Like, I honestly hope they don't, just to make it more interesting, because like that's a big thing to forgive someone, literally like ruining your family's life. So this is some tea. There's some hot tea here. But yeah, it's got to be the brother, or it's got to be that news reporter guy who also has the D name. So I feel a little embarrassed that I didn't mention the person that it ended up being on the vlog. I did suspect them, Coach Kendall, who was described as like a very nice guy, but he is engaged to Laura, the teacher. So I did suspect him a little bit, but I was really caught up in the D thing. But yeah, so I feel a bit embarrassed I didn't mention it on the vlog, but just know I did suspect. But I kind of like that it was still a little bit surprising, because it wasn't on the forefront of my mind. most of my hair managed to stay straight except for this. Girl. But anyways, I finished You Will Be the Death of Me. I stayed up last night until the most climactic part was over and we found out who the killer was, who the big drug dealer was, but didn't really care to read the last couple of chapters until today. And the rest of that was just sort of wrap up with each of the characters. And I actually did quite like those ending chapters because you just kind of got to see the growth that each character had, because each of them sort of had a personal or family issue. Like Ivy with her brother, how she kind of had this animosity towards him through growing up and jealousy, and they finally are starting to bond more and not hate each other so much. And then Mateo's mom sort of realized that she was setting a bad example for him and his cousin because she made it seem like you should never ask for help and always take things on, individually, which led to them getting involved in some bad stuff in the book, obviously. And then Cal finally found some new friendships that weren't, teachers / adults that were inappropriate, so that was good for him. And then the very last chapter, so I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna be right about the news reporter being D, because we still hadn't found out who D was, who the teacher was having this affair with. And then it ended up being Mateo's dad, and I really liked that was something that was more shocking. I did consider, I know it's gonna seem like I'm just saying that because I never caught it on the blog again, but I did consider Mateo's dad just because he was never named. He was just kind of there in the background. But yeah, that's why, because it was the big final twist in the last chapter that he's actually the one that's involved with the teacher Laura, and she's just using him and stuff. But it was kind of a weird ending because it's kind of like a cliffhanger ending. I don't know if Karen was wanting this to potentially be a series. I hope not. I hope not, because I didn't enjoy it enough for that. I kind of did appreciate that, but at the same time I found it a little bit weird how it ended. So I'm giving this 4 stars, which, as I said on Goodreads when I rated it, it might be a little too generous, but I just think these books are so fun that I find it hard to give it less than 4 stars, even though it might not deserve that, just because I do feel like Karen and Mcmanus is just doing the same plot over and over, and I've seen other people say that. So I'm wondering if she's gonna mix it up at any time, because it's the same template essentially, where you're following a couple different high schoolers who fall into a lot of your cliche type of characters, and then we have this little mystery. And the fact that this went in the drug direction is not super unique, even though it was slightly surprising for me with each reveal. It's not anything too crazy. So I'm giving it a not too enthusiastic 4-star rating. So I think that's all I really have to say. I feel pretty neutral about this book, but hopefully you guys liked seeing my sort of reactions to it and my theories throughout. I definitely did enjoy it, and it's a quick read. I read it in a little over a day. Yeah, if you're into YA thrillers, I think you definitely should be reading her books. So thank you again for watching. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video next week. Bye!